Okay, now we're going to have our speakers, Pat and Jonathan. Should be an interesting discussion. Looking forward to it.
So part of what we're going to talk about here today, I think, segues really nicely from what Eric just finished off with. Jonathan and I co-host something called Meeting of the Minds. I was here about a year ago talking about this. So this time I'm going to let Jonathan actually tell you about Meeting of the Minds, and then we can have a little question and answer afterwards. I just wanted to introduce Jonathan. We've been friends for a couple of years now, doing the meetings and meeting for coffee. And my favorite part of that is he brings his daughter with him. She's the cutest kid in the whole world, so that's always good fun. I don't have young kids. I have a saying about some religious people, and it's this, that if more people were like them, then we would have a lot less to do. And I think Jonathan typifies that. He's here in the Lion's Den, so I'm hoping you'll be kind to him, because he's one of the people I think that, as Eric pointed out, we need on our side, because there's lots of things we can do together. And one of them is called Meeting of the Minds, so I'll let Jonathan tell you what that's all about.
Don't worry, I actually go to, if I go to church, there's another Lion's Den that I go to. So, because there's I get invited to speak at various churches as well. And sometimes my theology or my interpretations do not bode well with some dogmas and doctrines that they strictly believe and convict. So I could feel it, my wife could feel it. So when we go there, we go, and after when I talk and the service ends, I always tell my wife, let's go now. Because I feel like there's a sniper ready to, this happened, recently it happened in California, in SoCal, the wealthier parts in SoCal. And I was talking about how we should be welcoming to all. And especially to the homosexuality, LGBTQ, things like that. It's like all human beings are on and they hate this word, spectrum. And then when I said that word, I felt like radars were just on my chest hitting to me. So anyway, beyond the point. I promised Ian as well that I would talk a little bit about myself first before I go into what I do, and then what I do transpired and how it percolated into the creation of Meeting of the Minds. Is that okay? Okay. So I'm a Christian. So born and raised as a Chinese Christian. Just to give you there is a distinction. So when I say Chinese Christian, and anytime you meet a Christian that is Asian, it's actually more like a Confucius Christian. So and if you know about the philosophy of Confucianism, merge that with Christianity, you could tell that there's certain things that Confucianism would emphasize in Christianity. I don't know if that's understandable or not, but is that understandable? Okay. So so whenever you meet an Asian Christian, their focus, when you speak and when you talk to them, or talk to my parents, for instance, you would say, be the best Christian you can be. Well, that's more like Confucianism speaking into Christianity, right? Or be the best son or daughter in your own office you can be, right? There's no gray areas, no spectrums, just these categories. All right, so I was raised in that, and as time went on, of course, usually for me, when I hit university and get more older and grow up, I started to critically engage in what I believed in. Try to critically engage with my church, with my pastors, with things like that. And during that time, I started working and graduated from university at SFU. Then I started working. I started to even critically engage with myself. So I look at myself in the mirror and I go, okay, Jonathan, why do you believe in what you believe? And where are you going, why you're here, etc. A lot of existential questions. And then I ended up going, okay, so what's the best way to engage with what's going on up here is to actually learn. So what I did is I went to Regent College. I don't know if you know that there's a theological school, graduate school right across from BC. And did my master's in theology over there. And I thought it would help me to answer more questions, but actually made me to ask more questions. It didn't answer anything, actually. It made me to ask more and pursue more of my own self-discovery. So after when I graduated, part of the degree requirements was that I had to work at a church, and it's called interning. because it's almost like everybody who takes theology courses are destined to be a pastor, which is not true, but it shouldn't be the case, right? But that's what it was, and I did an internship at a church, and then I ended up not liking pastoral work. Because the last day of pastoral work, I started to hate all humankind. So I didn't want to go through those doors anymore. And I said, forget this. If this is pastoring work, I'm out of here, right? And then so, but before I graduated, somebody came up to me and go, have you ever considered of continuing your discovery, continuing your journey, but also continuing it with other people by starting a organization or something to help people of whatever religious background they have to continue the journey with them to question and critically engage through academics, through life experiences on what they believe in and why they believe in it, what they believe in. Follow? So I go, great, that sounds really romantic, right? So, and then he goes, oh, by the way, I go, what? He goes, there's no salary, you have to raise your own funds because it's charity, you're gonna start your own charity. And because I'm Chinese, my pragmatic self just blurted out saying, no, forget it. I want stability, certainty, and things like that. And so I left, and he goes, no, think about it, right? Because you've been going through your journey of trying to self-discovery, try to critically engage, try to use your mind to reason things through. Think about it. There's a lot of other people out there that are doing the same thing, but they just don't have a place to do it, nor a safe space to engage with it. So then my wife and I said, no, forget it. Practical self speaking, saying there's no salary, whatever. You have to raise your funds. I don't even like it when people call me for fundraising. Think about it. So why would I want to be the one on the other side asking people for fundraising, right? So I didn't like it. So but then for some odd reason, we just kept on talking about it during our vacation, and because I just really need one, and came back and realized, okay, let's give it a try for a year, and that was 4 years ago, and now we keep on saying, let's give it a try for a year. So we just kept on revisiting it, and now we'll be just continue doing it. So the organization that I head up and I started is named as Company of Disciples, and basically it's a company of learners. People who just, the goal is to provide a safe space for engagement, to bring everyone's beliefs, backgrounds, opinions, convictions onto the table and talk about it and say, why do we believe in what we believe in and where are we headed? Okay? And how do we practically see what we believe in, engage with what we do, and how we make choices? Because that's pretty much it's connected. Okay, so that's Company of Disciples. Now, because of that, of the continuous journey, I realized that there was a lot of issues back then in that year. It was like, there was the LGBTQ, there was the VSB, Vancouver School Board, the fiasco. There were a lot of issues happening, and a lot of emotion was involved. So there were voices from this side, and there were voices from this side, and there were a lot of hostility. There was no place for rational discussion. No reasonable, rational, safe place of discussion where people can put their opinions on the table and be disconnected, emotionally disconnected, so to have a more like a reasoned dialogue. So I figured, let's start a monthly event where people can come together and talk about a particular current issue. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm a Christian, so tendency is if I put on an event like that, a lot of Christians will show up, and we will have no other voices in the mix. So what I did was, well, in order to keep our conversations honest and informed, and not just one monologue dialogue, why not invite my friend Pat O'Brien and his community into the discussion, into the safe space, so that we could dialogue together and bring our opinions and beliefs and convictions into the mix, and have a reasoned dialogue so that we could all educate one another. So sort of like building community and building bridges together. So one of the best examples that we've done was actually the LGBTIQ.
It's the best attended.
Was the best attended one. where it was during the time when the Vancouver School Board changed their manual or their policy, their policies, and then removed the gender requirement from from when you're applying when you're signing up your kid to school, you don't have to check that box. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, like for those who are familiar with this. And then, but what really created the uproar was the potential of gender-neutral washrooms, right? Now, I must admit, on behalf of all the Asian community, it was our biggest concern, right? Because really, like I said, remember what I said about Confucianism, right? We like if you have to be the best you can be in a particular office. With gender neutrality, there's no office, is there? Right? You can't be the best daughter you can be, and you can't be the best son you can be, because if you're gender neutral, you can't be either. So it creates a lot of confusion, and that's why there was a big uproar in the Asian community about gender neutrality, because that's just way too confusing for them. All right. So, anyways, there was during that time there were a lot of hostile dialogue. There were a lot of arguments, there were protests. There was like even especially from the Asian community. And I go, okay, this is a great time to actually put up an event in a safe space where we could bring in different perspectives so that we could educate everyone through dialogue on this issue in a reasoned, rational way to remove the emotional component. So what Pat and I did is that we brought in Morgane Auger. She's a transsexual parent, right? Transsexual parent who transitioned. And she has 2 sons. So we brought her in to speak. We also brought in Dara Parker. Some of you may know her. She used to be the executive director for Community and to speak. We also brought a psychologist, didn't we? What's her name? I can't remember. A psychologist who came in. And also Sherry Payne. She was the former school board trustee. So we had these voices to speak, and myself and Pat to speak on the topic. And it was great. Just to let you know how the community was built, was there were quite a few people that attended from the religious side, quite a few people attended from the non-religious side, and everybody just chatted and then educated one another on the issue itself, the topic. And what was amazing was, at the end of the night, for myself, what I observed was quite a few people in my community actually went forward to Morgane and spoke with her, and actually wanted to know more about her life and who she is, as opposed to what she is. You guys follow? People became more personal, more relational. Bridges were actually built in between them. So that's what continues to fuel the meeting of the minds. Pat brought in a colleague one time, and we met with them. I can't remember his name.
Free will?
No, on Starbucks. But anyway, when he said, describe meeting of the minds to me, right? He said, and then so Pat and I were describing meeting of the minds to him, and he said, you know what? One best word to summarize this: community. And he said, this is the best example of building community, where communities could not possibly be built. We've been building communities ever since and we went from topic to topic. Gender. The first one was GMO.
GMOs,
That was weird.
Prostitution.
Prostitution, free will, etc. Assisted dying. And yeah, these are topics of the current topics that tend to be divisive. We bring onto the table, into this space, so that people can talk about it, whether you're religious or